Good evening, everybody. Mark Meckler here. Welcome to the BattleCry. It's a great night because you know why it's a great night? Because we live in the United States of America, and every night is a great night in the United States of America. This one's made a little bit better because of this. No, that's not a big glass of whiskey or something. Come on now. It's a Red Bull. Patty just came in, poured me another Red Bull. I'm ready to go. Got the dogs on the couch behind us. There's Gideon on the couch. I don't know if you can see him back there. Levi's down on the ground. So we're ready to go. We're ready to have another rockin' night. I love being here on the BattleCry. And the reason I love being here on the BattleCry is because I get to be with y'all all over the country. Grassroots activists from all across America get together. You know, we get 50, 60, 70,000 of you guys every single week here on the BattleCry. So I love being here with you. Love your comments and questions. Give me some questions, man. Stump me. Give me some hard ones at the end tonight. I like it when you guys have questions. Of course, it's been another unbelievable news week because, I mean, every week has to be an unbelievable news week, right? Isn't that just how it goes nowadays? So we've got producer G with us. He's going to be feeding us some stuff as we go. We've got some great stories tonight, but we're going to start with, well, maybe it's not a great story, but we got to do it anyway. It's the debate recap. Yeah, I know you probably had enough of the debate. I had enough of the debate. I do have to say that the debate was not bad. Not bad. It was watchable, unlike the Trump-Biden debate, which was just a train wreck. I think watching the Harris-Pence debate was actually a real political debate. And obviously, you can pick winners and losers. I think it's pretty obvious Mike Pence won that debate going away very easily. But I think we actually saw the candidates speak. And I think it was interesting. Instead of just trying to talk over each other, I mean, Kamala Harris tried to make it seem like Pence was talking over her all the time. But really, we got to listen to each of them talk. And what you saw was a complete contrast. Mike Pence was confident, in control, had a command of the issues, understood the numbers, knew the policies. Man, if you want to know what the Trump agenda is all about, if you want to see the best defender of the Trump record, that's Mike Pence. I think he did an extraordinary job. As a person who speaks professionally for a living, who's done hundreds of debates over the years, I got to say, Mike Pence scores an A+ on that one. I mean, he did an incredible job. I thought the start, to be honest with you, was a little bit slow. I think he was a little bit overly polite, a little bit too much of thank you so much for having me here and all that stuff. And I think he pretty much wasted the first section and the first 2-minute answer to the question. I think he spent at least a minute doing the thank yous and the introduction kind of stuff. But after that, he sort of hit his stride. And really about halfway through, he really hit his stride. Debates themselves are really not as much about the substance as about the moments. And the candidates are always looking to make a moment in a debate. That's the thing that you're trying to do. It's not win the overall debate necessarily. It's not be the smartest. It's not be the most articulate. It's can you make that viral moment? Can you do the thing that people will remember in a positive way, of course? Sometimes moments are made negatively, but what you're looking for is can you create a positive moment for yourself and your campaign? And I think Mike Pence did this extraordinarily well on the packing of the Supreme Court issue. When he asked her, will you pack the Supreme Court? And she wouldn't answer. And he went back and he asked her again. And she wouldn't answer. And he went back and he asked her again. And she wouldn't answer. And this is followed by Joe Biden not answering the question. And you can tell he's made the moment. You can tell that is the moment of the debate because it's become the moment of the campaign, right? Because this is now a question that's on everybody's lips. Will you pack the Supreme Court? And Joe Biden said the thing out loud that no politician should ever say. He said the thing out loud that Nancy Pelosi said about Obamacare that no politician should ever say, which is, you can know what's in it after you vote for it, or you will know my opinion on this after the election. Joe Biden said that out loud. No candidate should ever be able to get away with saying that. No elected official should ever be able to get away with saying something like that about a question as pertinent as, will you alter the governing structure of the United States of America by packing the United States Supreme Court? So I think that was the moment of the debate. I think Pence was genteel, professional, literate. He knew the numbers. He knew the facts. I think he did a fantastic job. Kamala Harris lost on the scowl. Really, it was not so much the substance of what she said, which I disagree with much of the substance, but she was plenty articulate. She's a smart woman. It was the snarkiness, the scowling, the face making, the fake smiling, all of this stuff, the way that she treated Mike Pence, Mr. Vice President, I'm talking. The American people hated it. And you already knew that because you hated it. Everybody who was watching it was made uncomfortable by that. And I'll tell you what made me uncomfortable about both candidates, to be honest with you. I don't like it when candidates don't answer the question. Now, I understand that the questions are often biased. I get that. I've been subject to those questions. And the way that you handle biased questions is you just don't accept the premise. You say, I'm not willing to accept that premise, but I will answer the question this way. And then you go on and answer the question. I don't like this thing where they just ignore the question. Like, what's the point of even having a moderator? Just go back and forth and give each of them 2 minutes. So I would say I wish Pence would have answered the questions more. And I think that's what public sentiment reflects. Also, I wish that he didn't go over his 2 minutes every time. Now, to be fair, in the long run, though Kamala Harris complained, they had the same amount of time. 36 minutes and change for both of them. It was virtually identical. I think Pence got 3 seconds more than Harris. So contrary to the media screams about him interrupting, contrary to her complaints about him trying to overrun her, they had virtually the same amount of time. But I say if you weigh it out, it's not even close to a toss-up. Mike Pence won the debate going away. All right, let's talk about politicians. That's a politician who's very good at it. Politician who's very bad at his game. Governor Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo venturing into what I think is very dangerous territory, but what has unfortunately become not so dangerous territory in modern political discourse. And that is, I think at this point, we can fairly say that Governor Andrew Cuomo is an open, vicious, bigoted anti-Semite. Yeah, I said it. He's an anti-Semite. He's anti-Jew. For some reason, he cannot help himself but over and over and over and over attack the Jewish community in New York and separate them out. Now, to be fair, in this latest round of attacks, he went after religious institutions in general, but did, of course, once again mention the Jewish community. And by the way, statistics show that the Jewish community doesn't have any more hotspots of COVID than other specific communities in New York. Okay, but he always points out the Jewish community, and he has said now that the Jewish community and other religious communities need to stand down, follow the rules, and that their worship essentially must stop. They're gathering for worship. Yeah, I mean, he obviously doesn't understand, doesn't respect, doesn't revere the United States Constitution. And this is just outrageous stuff. And he's not the only one in the country doing it, but his anti-Semitism is at peak levels. One of the problems I think we have, and we've got to watch out for this in the United States of America, is the radical left, and more the mainstream left in America is anti-Semitic. And by the way, if you happen to be watching me, you're not a conservative, you're a liberal, you're a libertarian, and you're Jewish, and maybe you don't like conservative ideas, maybe you don't like the Republican Party, and you're Jewish, you better ask yourself what you're doing. Because right now, for whatever reason, the radical left has become radically anti-Semitic. I say this as a Jewish person who practices the Christian faith. My heritage is all Jewish, both sides of my family. I'm aware of and pay attention to and sensitive to, in the sense that I hear it and I see it, anti-Semitism on the rise in this country. I don't know what it is with the radical left, but they have aligned themselves with radical Muslims, anti-Semites. It is radical, rotten, disgusting stuff in this country. And if you're Jewish, you got to ask yourself, why are you supporting those people? This is dangerous, dangerous stuff. We're seeing it in the media. We're seeing it from politicians like Andrew Cuomo. We're seeing it on the air, on the radio, on television. We're hearing it on college campuses. By the way, college campuses have become radically anti-Semitic all across the country. The BDS movement, right? Boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement on college campuses, running rampant all across the country. One of the greatest warriors against this, our friend William Jacobson at Legal Insurrection, a great law professor, exposing the BDS across home. My son is a law student. At his law school, there is radical anti-Semitism. And by the way, weirdly, sometimes from Jews. I don't get it. I don't get where it comes from. They're anti-Israel. They're anti-Semitic. They say anti-Semitic stuff, and they seem to think it's okay. This is really dangerous stuff. You need to pay attention to it, whether you're Jewish or not. We got to root that out in this country. This is just really important that we pay attention to these things. I think sometimes if we're not Jewish, you remember that old, I forget who it was, but somebody really famous said they came for so-and-so and I didn't say anything. They came for the Jews. I didn't say anything because I'm not Jewish. They came for the communists. I didn't say anything because I'm not communist. They came for me, and nobody was left to say anything for me. So remember, they're going to come for all of us at some point. This radical leftist cancel culture, they want us silenced. Ultimately, they want us thrown in jail. This week, by the way, Keith Olbermann said that people like you and me, like us, that we need to be thrown in jail, that we need to be removed from society. This is where this whole thing's headed, and it's really disgusting. It's about control. It's about mental control, verbal control, controlling what you say, and controlling what you do. And it seems like more and more and more, everything has become about controlling what you do, what I do, what we're allowed to do. You know, I'm old enough to remember when we were going to do 2 weeks or 15 days to slow the spread. You remember that? Lockdowns for 15 days to slow the spread. Important that we all remember way back then. Remember the cartoon Mr. Peabody and the Wayback Machine? We're going to go way back to the beginning of the quote-unquote pandemic when they told us we had to basically lock down for 15 days to slow the spread. Listen to the language. It was not 15 days to end the virus. It was not 15 days to cure the virus. It was not 15 days to make sure nobody dies. It was not 15 days to make sure nobody gets sick. It was 15 days to slow the spread. It was intended to flatten the curve. Do you remember that language? Flatten the curve. We don't hear anybody say flatten the curve anymore. See, because that's all what it was all about. And for the first couple of weeks, when nobody knew what was going on, when everybody was scared, when this thing was running rampant and nobody knew what it meant, was it going to be Ebola or was it going to be the flu or something in between? Nobody knew. Locking down for 15 days, that made sense. Made sense to me anyway, right? And now nobody talks about that anymore. Now they talk about we're going to be locked down until we cure the virus. We're going to be locked down until there is a vaccine and everybody takes the vaccine. We're going to be locked down forever. This is the new normal. Well, this week, the WHO, World Health Organization, an organization I'm not a big fan of, but they reversed themselves. The ultimate backflip, landed on their feet and said, lockdowns are really bad. Seriously, the WHO said lockdowns are really bad. What they actually said is that based on lockdowns, we are going to likely see a doubling of world poverty in the coming year. I want you to think about that, what that means. The poorest among us, those who live on the edge of starvation, of freezing to death, in the worst places, those people who don't have clean water, enough food to eat, don't have a blanket when it's cold, those people are going to suffer the most, and they expect to see a doubling of world poverty. The WHO also said they expect to see at least a doubling of childhood malnutrition. That's it. That's where we're at. That's what we're doing with these lockdowns. And he said, think about these countries that survive primarily on tourism. There is no tourism. Think about poor places around the world, maybe where you've been or your relatives have been, and you know people who've traveled there. Think about small Caribbean nations. Think about nations in South America and Central America that rely on tourism. Shut down. Those economies are shut down. Think about here in America. Think about Hawaii. I have a lot of friends that live over in Hawaii. When you and I travel over to Hawaii, and I've been there several times, generally what we think of is the tourism, right? You and I, what do? We go to resorts. We hike beautiful coastal trails. We swim in the ocean. That's not the life for most Hawaiians. Most Hawaiians, they live there. They've got to earn a living, right? And the island economy is tied to tourism. Governor Ige, we don't hear much about him. Maybe because he's way out there in the Pacific. Maybe close, at least the worst governor in the United States of America, a complete and total tyrant, ruling as a king, taking us back to the days of the monarchy ruling over Hawaii. That economy is shut down, locked down. No tourism, no tourism, no jobs, no jobs. People get hungry. People have to commit crime to try and live. I mean, it is really bad what's going on over there in Hawaii right now. So that's right here on American soil, your and my fellow citizens. And the WHO says lockdowns are going to kill millions of people. I'm not talking about the 200,000 dead from COVID here in the United States. By the way, many of whom would have died anyway in the next year, elderly, infirm people. I'm talking about millions of people, the most vulnerable among us. If you have liberal, progressive friends, ask them, do they really want children to starve? Do they really want people going hungry all over the world? Do they really want to double world poverty? That's what they're doing. That's what the WHO now says that we shouldn't do, right? So I think we should pay attention to WHO. I don't often say that. I don't say pay attention to WHO, but I'm going to say it now. It's crazy, but that's where we're at. It's time to end the lockdowns right now. I'm going to give you a piece of advice. I'm not a big fan of giving advice. Remember, when you get advice from me, for sure, you get what you pay for, and this advice is free. But I am going to give you advice, and I'm going to tell you this. Buy a gun. If you don't own a gun, buy a gun. If you own a gun, maybe you need to buy another gun. It is time to buy guns, my friends, because there is likely to be unrest after the election. I'm not promoting unrest. I'm not hoping for unrest. But when you see the rioting in the streets of Oakland, California, in Portland, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, in Seattle, when you see that stuff, when you see these people going out in the suburbs, you need to be protecting yourself and your family. It is hard to buy firearms right now. I'm warning you, it's gotten very difficult to buy firearms. I go into the big chain stores here where I used to see a case full of handguns, maybe 50 to 100 handguns. Now you see 5 handguns in that case. So I'm recommending to you, go out and buy a handgun, buy a home defense weapon, buy a shotgun. You have an obligation to be prepared, a moral obligation to be prepared to protect yourself and your family. You know, when we talk about rights that we are endowed with by our creator, fundamental rights, you know what? The primary fundamental right that you are endowed with by your creator is the right to self-defense. The Second Amendment doesn't give you the right to own guns. It protects your right to own guns from the government. So I'm going to tell you right now, you got to wait until the election, a few weeks, go out and buy a gun, right? If you have to buy it online, go to gunbroker.com, buy it online, go to ammoseek.com to find ammo. Ammo is getting really hard to get. So go out and get yourself some firearms and protect yourselves. Prices are going up. Availability is going down. Now is the time to get your gun, get yourself adequately trained. This is super important. Get comfortable with that gun. If you're carrying a gun, wear it around your house all the time. I'm always wearing my gun. I don't go out without my gun. I've got my gun either sitting on my desk or on my hip at all times. When I leave my desk, I take the gun with me. That's not paranoia. That's being prepared. And you have an obligation to yourself and your family to be prepared. Every United States citizen should do the same. And by the way, the numbers are going insane right now on gun registrations. The NICS firearm check system, I'm looking at the numbers here. Every single month this year, every month has been a record. In other words, every month in 2020 has been higher than the equivalent month in 2019. For example, in September, 2,892,115 background checks on the federal system. Last year, same time, 2,200,000. And so another almost 800,000 background checks compared to the year before. In 2017, that number was 1,967,000. So a million more in 2020, of September 2020, than of 18. In 2016, it was about 1,000,009. In 2014, that number drops to 1,000,005. So the number has over doubled since 2014. These are incredible numbers, and it's good. Americans are arming themselves. They don't want gun control. They're taking their self-defense and their safety in their own hands. And if you're watching TV, you see the police departments being defunded. Police can't respond, and you had a responsibility to defend yourself anyway. So Americans are doing that. I'm proud of you guys. If you don't own a gun, go get a gun. Teach your kids to shoot, teach your wife to shoot, learn good gun safety, be a responsible gun owner, but definitely get a gun. All right. So that's the warning and the free advice. Now, we talked about the lockdowns, and the WHO says no lockdowns, right? That lockdowns are bad. You know who knows that? This is really interesting. Who knows lockdowns are bad? Oh, the people, you, me, we've got it figured out. In fact, last week there were protests in Berlin, Rome, Warsaw, and London against the lockdowns. You know, there's another place that there was a big protest against the lockdown. Yeah, you would think Texas is a free state and Texas is a red state, and no, that's not true. We got a tyrant here, King Abbott, Governor Abbott. He's the tyrant. Producer G, can you roll the tape on what happened in Austin this weekend? Hey, y'all got to check this out. We're at the governor's mansion protest, and they're now marching around the governor's mansion. Check this out. There are a lot of people here. This is crazy. Free Texas now!
Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Free
Governor Abbott, you must end the lockdown. You must stop following orders of the Democratic Party. You must free Texas now, Governor Abbott.
Free Texas now!
Free Texas now!
Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Free Texas now!
Free Texas now!
Great job, Julie.
Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Free Texas now!
Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Free Texas now!
Free Texas now! Free Texas now! Love your shirts. Oh man, that makes me so happy. I love seeing that. Yeah, that was my voice you heard there. And yeah, I was one of the rebel rousers who helped organize this thing because Texas is locked down. By the way, that protest, Austin, Texas. Like when you hear Austin, Texas, you might want to hear San Francisco, California. It is a very liberal city. Over 1,000 people showed up marching around the governor's mansion, chanting. It was amazing. And by the way, patriots came from all over the state. So if you think people are just being cowed down, it's not true, right? I don't care whether you are Texas, Michigan, Minnesota, Idaho, California, real patriots are coming out. I told you, Berlin, London, Warsaw, it's going on all over the world because people refuse to go along like sheep. And you shouldn't either. We should stand up against this stuff. I'm standing up against it, not wearing a mask. Look, if a store asks me to wear a mask, it's a private place, I'll wear a mask, right? It's their private business. They can do whatever they want. I can choose not to patronize. But when the government tells me I got to wear a mask in public, that ain't happening. I was just in Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago. As you guys know, with Rick Green, there is a mask mandate on the streets of Philly. Not a chance. I didn't do it. I'm not going to do it. Y'all can arrest me, do whatever you want. That's not happening. So we got to stand up. People are standing up. I'm pretty excited about that. You know, I always get asked, what's the status of COS? COS is cranking along. We're involved in a bunch of get out the vote stuff. So we are very active right now. We're active in the legislatures. Michigan's still on the move. I keep telling you that, but it's kind of a any minute thing in Michigan. A lot of great stuff going on. Why is COS even relevant? Like the country's burning. People are talking about packing the Supreme Court, right? Oh, wait, packing the Supreme Court. Mark, could we actually have a resolution or could we have a proposed amendment under a COS resolution that says we fix the Supreme Court at 9? Yes, we could. It's more relevant than ever. We can get into convention and we can say, no, we're done with this crazy idea of court packing, and we're going to propose an amendment that we fix the court permanently at 9. Yes, we can do that. COS, more relevant than ever right now. So don't let anybody tell you it's not. And it's going to be crazy busy after the election. All right, lastly, we're going to go to a little bit of Q&A. Trump recovers from COVID. And you know what? He does it exactly like Americans do things. He got sick, stared it in the face, he got great treatment, and he came through, right? And he came through with a great attitude. His attitude is the American attitude. Is COVID serious? He said, yeah, it's serious. I get that. But I learned about it face to face. I had a positive attitude. I came out of it. He's now out of it. He's beyond risk. He is basically out of the woods, and he's getting ready to hit the campaign trail again. And he's providing the perfect example for how we should deal with COVID. In other words, unless you're a really vulnerable person, you shouldn't be scared. You shouldn't. You should take reasonable precautions. And other than that, go about and live your life. Be an American. Americans aren't scared. We don't hide at home. We're not behind the blinds, cowering in the corner in fear at everything. And I think Trump is leading the way. I'm really proud of our president for how he handled this. You guys know I'm not a Trump sycophant. I don't always say he does the best job, but the way he dealt with the disease and his messaging post-disease, I think he's right on track with that stuff. So, Garrett, are we going to go to Q&A next? I think we're going to Q&A next. All right, so Betsy Orva says, I got to see your protest in Texas. Good job. Thanks, Betsy. I appreciate it. Look, I'm a grassroots guy. I love doing stuff like that because, you know, I tell you guys I'm grassroots and then I go out and do stuff. I put out the flyers. I walk the streets of Austin promoting this thing. I'm just a grassroots guy, just like you guys. Jim Walker says, the tyranny we're currently seeing in the country is coming primarily from the governors. Is there anything COS can do to limit the authority of states to infringe on rights? And the answer is generally no in the COS scheme of things. And the answer is broadly, absolutely. Absolutely, because we are raising up a grassroots army in every state across the United States of America. Currently, 4.7 million people standing up in support in one way or another of Convention of States. I think that needs to be 30 million people. And when we're 30 or 40 million people, and we will be, mark my words, when we are, we will have the influence in the state legislatures to shut this kind of garbage down. You will be running for the legislature. You will be running for city councils. You will be running for county boards of supervisors. You will be the secretaries of states and the attorney general and the governors. That's my vision for COS. We are raising up the largest self-governing citizen grassroots army in American history. All right, Sharon Carell says, Charlie Kirk says if Biden wins, the far left will lose some power because Biden and friends don't really like them. The more moderate Democratic machine will kick into gear. What do you think? I think I normally really like Charlie Kirk and agree with him. I think he's friggin' hallucinating. I don't think Biden will have any power or his friends will have any power in a Biden administration. The Biden administration has been taken over by the radical left. Kamala Harris is of the radical left. Bernie Sanders wrote the platform. He is of the radical left. AOC, all these people, they are all going to have the influence in the Biden. I don't know where Charlie gets this. I just think that's crazy personally. All right, let's see who's next. We got Joan McDermott says, what can we do to prevent future fake lockdowns? Be aware, know what's happening, and don't go along mindlessly. Again, 2 weeks, I'm fine with that. But I also think people are going to be a lot more skeptical naturally in the future. So I think we're less likely to go along with lockdowns. All right. Kim Jacobs from Hannaford says, how do we get heard and take over with COS? Kim, I'm going to tell you one of the biggest things you can do is right now, you can participate in the elections. You can go out and you can be knocking on doors for candidates that you like. The legislatures will pay attention to you when they see that you have electoral muscle, when they see that you work to raise money for them, when they see that you work to walk and knock for them, to make calls for them. That's when they pay attention to you. So right now is your chance to increase your power. Anne Marie McKeever says, love the dog. Aw. What do you think about that, Levi? Yeah, he already had dinner, so he's cold. We love the dog too. He's out cold though. Yeah, it's just how they are this time of night. Phyllis Adams says, can we make sure they don't do away with the Electoral College? And the answer is the Electoral College really can't be addressed here in the upcoming convention states. I think that's a good thing. A lot of people worry about that. Can we address the Electoral College? The answer is no, it can't be touched. I'm not worried about them doing away with the Electoral College. We need to be aware of that push, though. All right, I got a couple of more announcements. One is you need to vote. Early voting probably started in your state by now. Make sure you vote early. And if you don't vote early, make sure you get to the polls. Now, more importantly, you can magnify your own effort to vote because you should not only vote, you should make sure everybody you know votes. And when I say make sure, yeah, I mean actually really make sure. I mean your responsibility as a citizen, not just to vote, go and make your circle of 10. Really, make your own circle of 10. Go to conventionofstates.org, click on the circle of 10 button, and then make your circle of 10. List 10 people that you will make sure that they vote, that you will check and make sure they're registered. And if they're in states where they can still register, you'll help them register if they're not registered yet. And once they're registered, you will follow them all the way to the polls. Now, I don't mean you're going to creep up behind them. I mean, actually just call them up. Text them. Hey, John, have you voted yet? Early voting has started. Here's how you vote early. You take the responsibility. You be the responsible citizen. You be the influencer, the leader. Go to conventionofstates.org and do it. By the way, our number one guy so far, I didn't know people would do this. They've gone way beyond 10. Some people, 10 is so many. We've got a guy that has over 100 people he's taken responsibility for in his circle of 10. And I'll be stunned if he doesn't get all of them. He's incredible. We'll talk about him specifically next week. I'll name names if he'll let me. So again, go to conventionofstates.org, click on the circle of 10 button. All right. Last but not least, you got to know the Constitution. You have to know the Constitution. This is critically important. A lot of you know and participated with me in the Constitutional Live training done with my friend Rick Green, America's Constitution coach. We did this for 6 weeks. We had so much fun. I open it with Rick. We do a middle break. We answer questions at the end. We had a great time. He and I, we're like brothers from another mother. And I learned so much from him. And it was so interesting because I know different things about the Constitution than him and vice versa. So we're learning from each other. There's a bunch of interplay going on. You guys are asking incredible questions. Last time we had over 2,000 people sign up. That was a record. That was a record for Rick Green, the largest sign up he's ever had for a Constitutional Live training. It's all online. It's Monday nights. We're going to start again this Monday night. In case you don't know, look at the calendar. That's tomorrow. Right. So this is really important. Go to conventionofstates.com/Constitution, conventionofstates/Constitution, conventionofstates.com/Constitution. Get signed up because you know what we're going to do? We're going to do the largest online Constitution training class in world history. Not kidding you. We're over 6,000. I think last I saw, we were close to 7,000 registrants. My goal, 10,000. Largest Constitution class in American history. I know you lament people don't know the Constitution. They need to know the Constitution. People need to train on the Constitution. People need to read it. People need to learn it. People need to teach it. You can do it. You can even sign up to be a coach. So what I need you to do, go to conventionofstates.com/Constitution. Send that to all your friends. Text that link to all your friends. Now, you don't have to believe me about how great it is, but it was great. We're going to have live Tim Barton. We're going to have live David Barton. Tim's his son, kind of the heir to the Barton teachings and the Barton Library. We're going to have some incredible people. Maybe Pete Hegseth might even visit with us on one of the trainings. It's going to be amazing. Don't take my word for it. Listen to these great patriots who already took the class, and I'll see you tomorrow night for our training.
And what a deal. This thing is great.
Hi, I'm Tina with Convention of States, Rhode Island. I just wanted to share that I took the Constitutional Live course. I was so inspired and I learned so much.
It's a free course. It's fun. It lasts for 6 weeks and it was filmed in Philadelphia Independence Hall.
And there has never been a more important time to know and understand the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Constitution Live brings those two documents to life in a fun and family way.
I was so inspired and I learned so much.
Because in the class you don't just learn the words of the Constitution. You learn about America's founding principles, how we got started with our ideas of individual liberty, individual freedom, God-given rights, and justice for all.
One of my favorite parts was the question and answer portion with Rick Green and Mark Meckler.
I learned more in 6 weeks than I had learned all my life about the Constitution.
So I highly recommend it. Do yourself a favor. Take this course. You will not regret it. It was so informative, so educational. Invite your friends, invite your family, anybody you know. It's great for everyone.
We need you to join us. Spread the word. We need as many people as we can participating in this class.
Thousands of people from across the nation all together diving into the Constitution. We're starting on October 12th. If you miss a class, that's okay. You can join us the very next week, but we're going to go 6 weeks in a row. We're looking forward to having you with us as we dive into